Well, it's just important to be able to share with you our heart and what the Lord's been doing over the last 10 years. And as we launched into this thing in 2013, which is really the backbone of using coffee as a way to help people at home and in Honduras, we're just ecstatic about what's happened. And even though we lost a year, things are back in full swing, and we just want to give you a clear picture of what that looks like. We've got some people that you're going to hear from in a little bit that have been a vast part of our operation for the last decade. But I just want to tell you from the bottom of my heart, we have seen some things happen that we've been dreaming, praying, and asking God to accomplish. And I hope tonight will give you an opportunity to really sense the pulse and the position that God's placed us in, because we're on the verge of seeing some things happen that I really didn't even know could even possibly happen, and they're actually occurring right before our very eyes. And so we have a lot to share with you about just the way God is moving in us. We have a need. We just want to share that with you. We have a financial goal tonight, and we want to let you know that $50,000 is going to be the seed to help us do some things that we've never been able to do before. And primarily, what we want you to know and hear from our heart is that we have an employment model that requires us to be able to take care of essentially our own staff. We have 2 people on staff, and we have some gaps and some needs there. And then we also have an employment model here at our coffee bar, where we actually hire high school students that we've trained over the last several years to bring them into a place where they can develop some skills and opportunities. So we have a need to employ people here at our local coffee house inside of Brookhaven Church. We have a huge need in a kind of a burgeoning ministry that we've started and planted years ago down in Honduras. We're actually launching a mobile coffee operation down in Honduras. And we need your help with employing kids that were in the orphanage as children, and now they're adult orphans. And nothing has changed. There's still a great need for those people, and we've just advanced with the way that they've needed help. And so we're excited to share with you about what that looks like. We've got kids that we're helping go to culinary school and to hospitality school, and we're helping kids get their English as a second language, which will advance their opportunities tenfold in terms of trying to get a job in the Honduran economy. So we've got a lot of things that we're excited about sharing with you. We want to hear from some of our key people that love and care about Honies and doing some things that will help you to hear about how to get involved.
It all started back with our discipleship and mentorship. Without that discipleship, I didn't understand how to grow in my faith, and Mark really helped me kind of lead me down that path of, what does it mean to read your Bible? What does it mean to live as a Christian? This discipleship has meant everything to me, and is why we've kept in touch all these years, even though I changed schools in high school. I went and played, minor league baseball. Now I'm at TCU playing football. Our discipleship is always there, and that definitely helps me be grounded and rooted in my faith.
One of the things that we really just developed in our early onset was to say, we're going to do this for life, and nothing's going to change unless one of us is not here anymore. And so we just really felt like it was something that we wanted to target and replicate. And this is something that, obviously Jesus gave us that commission, and we're just trying to just look like Jesus in that regard in terms of what we're trying to do.
Going to the events with you and helping you out has been an awesome impact on me. Events where you're interacting with customers, you're making coffee, you're making sure we have enough supplies. There's a lot that goes into running an event and running it successfully and being professional. And right now I'm studying finance in school. Just having that, firsthand experience of that customer interface and that business aspect has been awesome for me. And we also employ teenagers and local high school students here in McKinney, and so I know they're getting all that business impact.
It's cool to be able to talk about the way God has just created a little bit like the loaves and the fishes. We really we've never had a lot, but God has always done great things with the little bit that we offer up. And so that's why we're excited about being here tonight, and we're taking some bold steps, if you will, and really asking you to be a part of our campaign to raise $50,000 this year. The important part of that is that we have our own employment needs here on staff. Caroline and I both. We're on that road right now that we need to ask you for that help. And employment is, without us being able to be boots on the ground and get our hands dirty, we're in that place and we'll always be in that place. I never want to be removed from the things that making a cup of coffee and cleaning the air pots when they get dirty. That's just a part of who we are. But one of the things we do want you to help us with is employment at the bar. We have an opportunity to employ students now with a new high school coming in next door to Brookhaven. We're looking at that as a great opportunity to connect with students, whether it be just through mentoring, discipleship, or sharing coffee, or whatever possibilities that might be. We have 2 local schools that we're engaged in. We honestly, truly have an incredible model that we've been able to build, and we're using coffee as a fundraising business model in our 2 schools. And there's other schools that have asked about how they can get involved in using this model to help raise money, but also how to raise influence and encourage kids to get involved in a way that will fit who they are.
I've seen it firsthand of just the type of kids that come in and they're hungry and excited to learn the aspect of making coffee, but then when you're sitting behind a counter all day, you really get to know someone. And that kind of where the discipleship comes in play, and just knowing these kids and being able to use my impact on them and Mark's impact on them, it's been a really special and awesome time to do that. That discipleship is another aspect, as well as the business side, that Honey's can bring to the table.
We don't want to stop there. We've seen the Lord open up the opportunity, because we've been trying to go back to Honduras for the last 14 years, and it's paying off, if you will. And we had no idea what that was going to look like, but we just decided that when we moved from just going as a school mission trip now to investing, literally time and energy and finances, the Lord's opened up a brand new way to do ministry. We're essentially partnering with a coffee shop in Honduras who has a dream to be able to kind of duplicate the mobile setup that we have here. And we've actually invested in a Volkswagen van, and we've helped renovate that. And Rafa, who's our key coffee contact down there in his coffee shop, he's in the process of training these young people, while at the same time they're also getting training at the university level in places that they're going to advance into. We knew Jose and Aaron in the orphanage as little tykes. So imagine those kids as orphans, and we've been coming down and doing Christmas with them and getting to know them and loving them, to now investing into their future, into their career. And we're right on the verge of all this happening. So that's part of our employment need. We need funding to help us get that started and develop that so that it becomes self-sustaining. So we see this as multifaceted employment opportunities. So we have a need for our staff here locally. We have a need for our high school kids that we want to invest in terms of getting that started. And then lastly, we have an employment model that we're duplicating right in Honduras. So that's why the 50,000 is paramount right now to let that become a reality for us.
So if you know either of us, odds are you've either heard us talk about either Honey's or Honduras in some capacity. It's held a huge just place in our heart ever since at our first trip in 2012. I just got back last Sunday and was able to go and see Love On kids both in the orphanage for 2 days, and then I got to see 23 kids from our very first trip in Honduras. So we've had relationships with them over the past 10 years, and just seeing the way that they have grown. We got to meet little babies of some of our babies, and so that's a big piece of our ministry, because it started off going and doing the Christmas project. That's been a huge piece of what we're doing, but also just the discipleship program and seeing these kids as they age and want to get jobs and careers in schools. And so it's been so cool to see as we're putting people through English classes, culinary classes, barista, and it was so cool to see just last week what that's doing. And so there's a coffee shop down there, as Mark was stating, called Cosair, and that is where Josue, who is a kid I met him whenever he was 12 years old. Now he has grown up and walking just so closely with the Lord through discipleship, through a church that Cosair is also very involved with. And they're trying to replicate it. They are. We bought the Volkswagen bus, just like the Honey's one, parked right outside. It is a Cosair Honey's bus that is going to be employing these kids from the relationships we started at La Finca Orphanage. And our goal for them is to create a career, create opportunity for them to save money and be completely self-sufficient. But what we need is y'all's help with funding and getting that off the ground, as well as employment. just because there is such a huge need there. And so our goal today is $50,000, and we need y'all's help to help people in Honduras with employment as well as here, so we can help build and scale what we got going on.
So we started our trips visiting the orphanage. That's still a huge part of it, as we've had kids that we have relationships kind of age out. Now there's half and half, to where we're in the orphanage, we're still investing in those kids, we're still doing projects, and then we're also helping support those kids that are no longer kids and just helping them get their lives started as adults. There's new kids every single month that come from really dark situations, and a lot of them were on the streets, a lot of them were begging, a lot of them have been abandoned and abused. So that's just a part of it that will never go away for us. Just something that we love to do and serve, and I know a lot of you have been following along with those stories since the beginning. And last year, Brookhaven Church sponsored the Christmas project that we've been doing for the past 6 years. And we were able to get full-size bounce houses for the orphanage. It's like a weekly activity that gets the kids exercising and having fun. So that was just a huge, huge project that we're so grateful that was provided for. Now we get requests and things that they need pretty often. We don't know what it's gonna look like. So from a support standpoint, they'll ask us, like most recently, they have a huge farm because they want to be sufficient with growing their own food, and they needed new lawnmowers, and that's a couple $1,000s that we're not sitting on. So there's things like that come up all the time. And then in the Christmas project, we're gonna need to raise funds for that again. It's coming up, and it's typically a pretty big project, and that's something that we're always praying for. And our relationship with the orphanage is a huge part of this mission and what we do.
So one of the coolest things just throughout the past 10 years of being able to see these kids develop is also just like the consistency. December 2019, we got to see kids that we hadn't seen in 5 years that aged out from the orphanage and went through different career paths or life paths, some not the best decisions. And they showed up saying, hey, we need help. We're on a path that we never knew that we could get on, and we want to get out of here and make better decisions, and we need your help. And that is what this is all about, is being able for them to, one, know that they have someone in their corner, but help get them to that next level, to where they can be self-sufficient. And through that, Josue, one of our first kids from our very first trip, he is going through culinary school right now, and he's also working at the coffee shop there in Honduras, being mentored by some incredible men of God. And it's kind of been their landing spots. It's a place for people to gather, to talk, to come with their problems, and to lean on each other. And I think that has been such a cool experience to see just how that's influenced their lives. He is a completely different person. His joy, his drive, and everything that he talks about, he brings it back to what the Lord's doing in his life. Honestly, that has everything to do with y'all's help through this. There's a huge financial need for that, whether it's through like helping start the van and that becoming self-sufficient. There's a big financial need, as well as payment, just as a business is starting up. And so we're asking for $50,000, and we are confident that the Lord is going to use that and multiply it.
There's one family that owns the coffee shop and also pastors a church, and I think that has been a key factor for us in the last 2 years of like having that home base from a coffee shop standpoint and a church, to where they're getting fed spiritually, and then they're also being discipled, and then they're also walking into a business and being employed and getting paid and getting skills, and emotionally them feeling like people care about them in the States and in Honduras, that family that's catching them when they fall, essentially when we're not there, has been a complete game changer. And that's what's made it possible for us to help those kids on the outside, because there is accountability, there is structure, and there is, like, from a cultural standpoint, people there that are guiding us who are just trying to help. And there are things that we don't see, there are things that we don't know, and they are that missing piece that we needed to get somewhere and to move forward with these kids. This is like us conjoining with them, and they take so much pride into that, and they're so proud to like walk alongside with us, and they've become our friends and like our family. Brooke and I stay with them at their house when we go there. We now have partners, family, and employees in Honduras that we've never had before. And that's why this is working, and that's why we're confident that putting money into it, we're gonna get more out of it. Do speak to them every day. Like, we're providing that emotional support, especially with like the young girls and women who are like becoming moms and deciding what kind of decisions they want to make. Like, they have us to talk to. That's something that we've been doing for a while, but this sense of family and community in Honduras as well is the missing piece that we needed, and that's been the biggest update and the biggest way for us to keep this going and to duplicate the business we have here there.
With this and with this type of investment in so many different kids with so many different needs, there's always something coming up. And so something that the Lord's really kind of opened a window for me was during quarantine, as Caroline was down there for 3 months, there was kids reaching out. They didn't have enough money for rent. They had no money for food. It was strict quarantine. With the help of Honey, we were all able to put together food bags and distribute food, and to look at them in the eyes, set them across the table, and say, hey, I love you. I know this is a scary time, but like, we're fighting for you. Another way that we were able to kind of work together, and Caroline's been a huge help, is through Brooks Beads. We make these handmade bracelets, and 100% of the proceeds goes back to Honey's with the orphanage and just all of the efforts down there. Wilson, y'all have heard me talk about him before. He is a kid from my very first trip. I met him when he was 2. Now he's 12. He aged out of the orphanage, is living with his sister Angelica. She is 23. She's married. Her and her husband Alvin are housing these kids. And it's something that they did not prepare for and weren't ready for financially. They make about $4 a day at their job, and they're having to completely support this family now. And she has a baby due in September. And so there's been a huge need with that. One of our big goals is to try to help get them out of the neighborhood that they're in and get them put into a more safer environment where they can raise a family together, not have to live in constant fear. And that's something that this is gonna help with. And I think that's just the beginning of what we have going on there. And so we wanna bring y'all in, share examples, give stories of real life situations that we're coming up on a daily basis with different kids in Honduras that are so close to our hearts. Whether it is, hey, I'm putting my name next to this family that I want to help with food. We could do food setups, whatever that might be. We want to make it as personal as possible and really invite y'all in to this family because there's a huge need and help for it.
We get calls and texts almost daily of real needs. That's the whole point of what we're doing. We're just trying to help people. And in Honduras, it is so hard for people to make livable earnings and jobs that actually provide them for what they need. There's so many of them, and like, things come up. And there's another example is a girl named Lulu who has a 10-month-old baby, and Mark and I went into the apartment she was living in, and we both started crying because it's just horrible. And the father of her child left. She didn't know she was gonna have to do this alone. We were trying to go buy her food, and I asked her, where do you typically buy food? And she just didn't even answer me. And then I realized it's because she doesn't buy food. She doesn't get to buy food. She gets what people give her. That's just when it really starts to set in. There's always gonna be so much need here. And we've been doing this for so long, and it just like brought us to our knees because we just are so burdened. We always wanna be able to step in when someone's struggling and when someone's going through a season. We gave Lulu her rent money the past 2 months, and she just started a job yesterday, and like that's the point. That's like what we're trying. She had nobody else to ask. She's never met her family. That's something that all those kids feel. We've been told by other people watching us that they look like little kids again when we're around them because we're part of their childhood, and it's something that like we can never really describe, but it's a blessing and it's a feeling that brings us back there over and over again, and that we'll probably never let go of because it is so emotional and so touching, and there's so much of God's presence in that when we're with them. And those tiny needs aren't super exciting, but those are real life. Like when we have to get internet for someone so they can do their online class, and when someone needs groceries for 2 weeks, and when someone needs their rent covered for a month. I know that's not things that like people like to put their name on necessarily, but that is real life, and that is like the ask. We get those calls and texts every single day, and so that's like this $50,000 is going to make that possible for us to not have to say no, we don't have it. So That's what we're asking for. That's what we want you to be a part of. And we're always willing to give you updates and tell you what's going on. And we just want it to be super, super clear that this is going into the right hands, and we are prayerfully asking God for wisdom and discernment in every step of it. And we counsel each other as a team, and we really take it seriously, like what we're given and how we distribute what we're given.
We're just so grateful that you would take some time tonight just to come be with us, hear what we're trying to do, and help us to raise that goal of $50,000. And the employment aspect of what we're trying to do is huge. Just the ways that we're trying to partner with people, boots on the ground in Honduras as well as home. So you can see all the different ways that we're trying to stretch that dollar. So again, thank you so much for listening, participating. We're going to break in just a minute, but if you would just consider really just being a part of helping Honies and celebrate the cause. So again, thank you so much.